Hey everyone, I'm Iris. I'm a student in CS 109, and here's my final project. It's called prosody.ai. So basically, for context, I really love writing poetry. I've been writing for most of my life. And so I'm also really passionate about things like NLP and, digital humanities. And I thought, I wanted to combine these interests and use CS 109 concepts to make kind of a poetry classifier app. And the idea behind this is that I can use probabilistic methods to kind of classify whether any given inputted poem is written pre-1800, from 1800 to 1900, or post-1900. And the idea is that I can define these custom stylistic and lexical features that I learned from, craft workshops and summer camps, and kind of use these to determine how the stylistic shifts in poetry have corresponded with temporal historical shifts. And so basically this is my app, and let's paste in the poem and try it out. So here is a poem by John Milton. It was written in 1630, so it's very early. And it's called On Shakespeare, which I find that pretty funny. I find that really meta. So let's paste this in. And as you can see, it says pre-romantic early modern with pretty high probability. And so basically my app is able to do this because I use a mixture of two models. The backend is an XGBoost classifier, which is kind of a random forest variant, but that's not very interpretable. So for the front end, I see these feature breakdowns, right? And these are made using a Bayesian hurdle classifier, which is entirely doable using CS109 concepts. And so basically, out of these features, it's able to analyze a poem and see what class is it most likely from. For example, in here it says there's pretty high archaic word density. It says high here. And if you look at the poem, then you can see that's true, right? We have words like needst, thou, hast, whilst. We don't really use these words anymore, but they're pretty common in old poetry. And for example, other, rhyme rate. Rhyme rate's pretty high. If you look at the ends of the lines, bones, stones, hid, pyramid, fame, name, obviously that rhymes, right? So yeah, these are some stylistic features of pretty old classical poetry. So now let's try a more modern-ish poem from 1800 to 1900. That's the Victorian era or the Romantic era, and poems kind of focused on these concepts of love and passion and nature. And obviously there have also been other stylistic shifts, so let's look at that. This poem's by Christina Rossetti. It's called One Seaside Grave. And yeah, again, the classifier correctly classifies it as romantic and Victorian. It's a little bit less certain this time, and my theory is that it's kind of because this 1800 to 1900 period was kind of a transition period of poetry. Pre-1800, we were very much in the classical era, the neoclassical era, super strict rhyme scheme, super strict capitalization, super strict punctualization. But then after 1900, we kind of move into the Imagist movement and the postmodern movement, and it's a whole upheaval of this kind of stylistic and literary convention. And so people were kind of, experimenting with both in the 1800 to 1900 period. And so here, obviously, you can see a blend. There's archaic word density, which obviously tests for old poems, and there's no more of that here. But then concrete abstract ratio, which is should be high for post-1900 poems because of the Imagist movement, it's getting there. It's getting pretty high. So this is also kind of a stylistic shift in the 1800s to 1900s. Yeah, and these are my feature breakdowns. I kind of color code them, for ease of use. And lastly, let's try a modern poem. This is called What the Living Do by Mary Howe. It was written in 1998, so it's very recent. Mary Howe is actually one of my favorite poems, and I would definitely recommend. What the Living Do is the name of one of her collections. It's astounding. But yeah, let's paste this in. And yeah, again, it classifies it as modernist and contemporary with super high accuracy. I think it's because the modern poems have a really, really distinct stylistic shift from before, so the classifier is able to learn that really well. Obviously, as you can see again, the rhyme rate is 0. There's no rhyme rate. This is all free verse, right? And obviously we have kind of a blend of capitalization and punctualization, because we're kind of going into, these kinds of full sentences in poems. And imageability is kind of how well you can visualize the words that the person is using. And it's moderate because, she's talking about a story, and some of her words are very vivid, but others are kind of more about ideas. So yeah, I hope this is fun. Obviously, I have a do you think we got it wrong? Oftentimes, sometimes it misclassifies, so you can kind of like select the correct era, and I'll like incorporate into a spreadsheet and use as my, later model training. But yeah, this is kind of my app. I thought it would be pretty fun to kind of do this little project using probability to see how I can, incorporate these digital humanities poetry concepts, which are not very commonly explored in the field of natural language processing, and kind of, yeah, do a little bit of a poetry project because it's my personal hobby. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.